In terms of healthy skin across ages, it's important to always moisturize. Wear your sunscreen, 30 SPF and above. There is no age where that is too young to do. I think that we find that we go from our acne stages to our dry stages to just overall, actinic damage kind of slowly. And, we see each other or ourselves in the mirror every day, and we don't necessarily notice our dryness until it's too late. So it's good to preventively start these skincare routines. And no age too young to start a skincare routine. As soon as they can hold a sunscreen, getting them to start applying it themselves is a great idea. Necessary worry would be about moles that are changing, about sun protection. Truthfully, if you have a worry, you should probably get it addressed. You'll be surprised how many people are not concerned about a mole that should be concerning. So it is never too early to get a skin mapping of your spots. It is never too early to get a consultation for your acne. It is never too late to talk about your sun damage and actinic damage. So overall, I feel like keeping an eye on your own spots, you're the person who sees yourself every day, is a great idea. But having one of us, like someone in the field, to look at your spots is a good way to stay safe. Skin mapping would be where we get a good look at all your moles and we get a really good grasp of where your moles are. So knowing that you have a mole on your knee is important to know, because if that mole ever disappears, we'd be wondering why your body is destroying a mole like that, or to know that it grew where you have 5 different spots now. So getting an idea of where all your moles sit, so it's sometimes called skin mapping, is a good way to keep track of things as they change. Healthy skin for young children, babies, under 8 would be lots of moisturizer. It's so tough this time of year because, they want to go outside, they want to be building their snowman. They come back in with those little chapped cheeks because Aquaphor, Vaseline before they head out is a great idea. They're going to pull those scarves down. So being proactive and things like that will lead to better skincare. As soon as they begin to have that breakage of their skin barrier, we start to see things like atopic dermatitis and other types of eczemas begin to pop up. They're more susceptible to different types of infections and funguses. So first off, lots of moisturizer. And then if things aren't going away with a moisturizer, not a bad idea to see a provider. In terms of how young a baby to young child under 7 should be seen, we do develop acne. It's not uncommon to have acne at the age of 5. It's also not uncommon to have newborn acne. So for things like that, if they have a bump, bring them in. There's also things like diaper rashes that you need to get addressed, and pediatricians are great for that, but know that we are a resource too, that we see conditions like this. And we also see those little beginnings of eczema appear on the face. So it's not, if you have an issue, we see those kids of those ages. So we see a lot of cold sores or that herpes simplex virus, which people will dismiss as dry lips. Those tend to burn, tingle, they have a little ulcer or a scab on them. Those are good signs to get in, because that will be a chronic condition. Once you develop that, you will have that. And that age of development can be any time in your life. There's also something called unguiculatus that looks quite similar. It's like a little fungal bacterial thing in the corner of the mouths that can be misdiagnosed at home. If you doing Dr. Google, you might find that those two come up relatively similarly, but they are completely different conditions. So those are things to watch out for little kids. Impetigo, so that's a staph infection on the face or in other parts of the body. That's very common. Something called seborrheic dermatitis. It's the yeast and fungus that overgrows typically from like a dry scalp or inflammation on the scalp. So we see that a good amount. A lot of times misdiagnosed as just like basic dandruff. There's kind of a step-by-step process to treat that condition. Tinea versicolor, where we get these light patches, dark patches on the trunk and on the arms. Not itchy, not necessarily bothersome, but you can see them, so cosmetically they tend to bother children. We got treatments for that. Vitiligo is something that can develop into childhood, so that would be truly depigmented patches on our body, which we now have new treatments for that. Sunscreen and moisturizer. If we use sunscreen and moisturizer, it would just prevent those UV rays from causing damage, called photo damage when we're that young, and a moisturizer would help protect the skin barrier. Once your skin barrier is broken down, you're more likely to have a breakage there in the future. So, preventing the original flare of any condition will help your skin in the future. Yeah, I think in tweens we start to develop some hormonal acne, and then that will kind of instigate our normal bacterial caused acne. So I would say that in that age category, we have a lot of newly forming acne. And like I said, we can form that at younger ages. But my thoughts on acne are that acne is a condition that can be treated, but acne scarring is relatively hard to treat. We do not have many options for acne scarring. So some people will say, my acne is mild, do I need to treat it? Yes, because if it scars, we don't have many treatment options for that. But for your active acne, we can get rid of that. So the best way to help acne scarring is to treat the acne, which means you should come in as soon as you start to develop that. There's no age too early to be starting to get that, acne treated. Everybody's age is different in terms of when they begin to develop acne. 12 is a good place to start to expect it, but we can develop acne before that and acne after that if you're lucky. But most people in your life you'll find have had acne. Thoughts on treating that include salicylic acids, benzoyl peroxides, which some of these things you can definitely find over the counter, and they're great solutions for those quick fixes. But most of them are not strong enough to really impact the skin and give us longevity. So if you're someone who is using the over-the-counter Dappling or Differin, or, I have some people come in with their TikTok treatment plan. They're like, this is everything I bought. I think it's a great place to start, and they've done some great research. But if I can give you higher strengths to that, or tell you how to truly use them. Some products are twice a day, some products are once a day, some products are once a week. If I can kind of give you that line, then we can actually get a better treatment plan underway. For teens and tweens, the less is more. I find that some of my girls overdo it and some of my guys underdo it, but we want to make sure that it's something that they can do daily. So we find that they cannot be consistent with it. Consistency is key for things like this. So sometimes I say leave that wash right beside your body wash so that you can do them together. Or if you have a teen who is not into body wash, but you brush your teeth every day, like put this lotion beside your toothpaste so that when you pick up the toothpaste, you'll know to pick up this one and use that. So typically we're looking at a antiseptic or antibacterial wash or cream. We're looking at something that like a retinol that helps with acne scarring as well as skin turnover, and then we're looking at possibly hormonal treatments. I think a lot of teens and tweens are embarrassed about their acne, so they will not necessarily come to you as a parent saying, I have acne, please help. But I definitely think that good parenting involves looking out for your child and recognizing that if they're having an issue, to follow up and kind of pursue it, even if they're not necessarily pushing for it. I can't tell you the amount of teen boys who come in who are like, well, I wasn't worried about it. And then I have them consistently for years and they come back and they're like, thank goodness I got that treatment. Thank goodness we started on this. So it might not bother them now, but I'm telling you the future ramifications of acne will, and they'll appreciate that you brought them in earlier rather than later. I think that a lot of our 20s and 30s are following trends, which some trends are amazing. Some trends, not so much. Snail mucin a few years ago, beef tallow, I don't know about that. So some of these ones, they have true, medicinal purposes. But if you're already seeing a healthcare provider or you want to ask about how to work that into your routine, we'd be happy to talk about that. But when you start adding some of these things together, if you're doing your snail mucin with your salicylic acid, with your hyaluronic acid, probably going to dry out your face, and you're not really getting down to the root of the root cause of your skincare problems, whether that's skin laxity, new fine wrinkles, acne, which we can get into adulthood. Anti-aging is a great way to start. If that's what motivates you to wear your sunscreen, then I'm all for it. But really what we want to be looking for is actinic damage, lessening our actinic damage. So that's preventing those UVAs and UVB rays from really damaging our skin. So some people are still using tanning beds because in the moment they look tanner, but I don't tell you not to tan, just use a self-tanner. So fan of self-tanners, lotion, spray tans, that is fine. Base tans are not really a thing. Base tans provide about a 1% SPF. We are looking for SPF of at least 30. So if you're looking for ways to prevent actinic damage, wearing your sunscreen is key. And that's really what your main motivation should be. Sure, actinic damage is the breakdown of the skin caused by UVA, B, and A and B rays. So it would be where over time our exposure to sun will cause our skin cells to metastasize. And so each time we get exposed to a sunburn, that is truly killing those cells. So sunburns, people are like, well, I peel. That peeling is the dead layers of skin tissue. And so when we have that burn, when our new cells form, as much as we want them to form like nice, new, healthy skin cells, the more time those cells split, the more likely they are to split abnormally, and then therefore they develop into different types of skin cancers. Right, so protecting your skin from the sun is the best way to start with your anti-aging journey, because that skin laxity, those fine lines and wrinkles, of course they come from movement like smiling, and things like Botox can definitely help with that, but in the long run, you'll have more supple skin if you use your products such as SPF. In terms of ways to help your skin, exercise is always important. So having a good regulatory system, cortisol really impacts how we live our life. Cortisol wakes you up, it puts you to sleep. If we have high or low levels of cortisol, it'll cause our acne to break out. That's one of the reasons why we get hormonal acne. And so regulating our body by exercising, eating healthy foods, if you eat a lot of greasy or fatty foods, you'll start to notice that on your body. So therefore, those are good steps in the background to be doing, which I think we all know to live healthily, like live a healthy lifestyle. It's sometimes harder to do than we anticipate, but if we go to the gym and we know that actually in the future we're not only helping, our muscle growth and our, GI tract, you're also helping your skin. We do tend to get more skin laxity, so we'll notice that maybe jowls start to form, our Marionite lines get deeper. Those are the lines right around our mouth. In terms of our hormones, men tend to notice it less, women will notice it more, but with hormonal shifts, we will have increase and decrease of weight, we will have oily or drier skin, and it won't necessarily be consistent from year to year. So this is where we have to kind of not just stick to a treatment plan that worked last year. Your skin might be different because truly you are different. And so it's important to recognize those precursors to dry skin, to oily skin, so that we can always meet back up and change the treatment plan based on how your body's changing. I'm a huge fan of vitamin C. I think that vitamin C works really well, not in a cream form. Cream form vitamin C isn't strong enough or penetrate the skin well enough to really work, so you need one that's in a dropper solution, like an oil. Every single morning, it'll help prevent against free radicals, which it's kind of coincides with the UVA and UVB rays. So if you're looking for something that's easy to add, that will give you a lot of benefit, it would be vitamin C. So compared to some of the other trends like vitamin E, vitamin C, that one's better. The American Academy of Dermatology physicians recommends a full body skin exam once a year. And during that time, we'd be happy to go over some of those concerns that you have or schedule another appointment to go over concerns about anti-aging, but your moles will change, you'll develop new spots called seborrheic keratoses. It's hard for us to look at our own back, so having someone else do it for us, we got your back, right? So having someone else do it is not a bad idea, so once a year. As we move away from our younger years, we kind of already have our actinic damage. So sunscreen is just as important, but on top of that, it's a lot of dryness. So the best way to describe it is when we're born, our skin is really tight. So we got a really nice tight network of cells. And then as we get that skin laxity, we begin to break and open. And so that will truly make us more dry because we have this more open barrier. And we'll also get rashes more easily. So I have plenty of patients who are like, I was never sensitive to ingredients when I was this age, but now with that opening of the skin barrier, they are gaining sensitivities to products. So I know that rashes are never fun, but it is something that I would expect as we get older to maybe get a few more allergic contact dermatitis or irritant dermatitis that we might notice. We might notice that our moles are changing or our spots are getting larger or smaller. Whenever I see a rash that is likely related to an allergy, I think most patients' first thought is my medications, my food. Those can definitely occur, but allergic contact dermatitis is probably the number one I see in clinic, and that would be any product that has a chemical or fragrance in it. So Bath & Body Works, probably not for us. Things that like Dove that have more sensitive ingredients are where we want to lean towards. Hand sanitizers can be really tough on our skin, so leaning more towards gentle hand sanitizers or like a gentle soap would be more appropriate. Things like that is typically what we see is causing it. It would be chemicals and fragrances. Things that are bleeding, causing you pain, that are growing, that look abnormal. We know ourselves best. So if I have someone come in here and they tell me that this is changing, I'd be happy to remove it for you because there's something to be said that in terms of evolution of spots, we look for the A, B, C, D, E's, the mnemonic to remember the changes of moles. The E stands for evolution. So that's kind of where you come in. For asymmetry, border change, color change, large diameter, we can evaluate that. But I recognize that things that cause pain, bleeding, or just feel different to you are probably different. So that's when we should really come in and get those spots checked. Say in all life stages, we also have stress. And stress can do crazy things to the body. Stress will cause a rash, it will cause your acne to break out, it will cause you to get more wrinkles. So managing stress, easy to say, hard to do, but we always recommend having either like someone that you talk to, or again, physical activity can really help because we will see a lot of skin progression caused by stress. There are some things we can share and some things that we shouldn't. So sunscreens, moisturizers, feel free to share. Those things are pretty much universal no matter the age category. Acne treatment plans are usually pretty specific. We don't want to necessarily cause one person who has oily skin to be, give them a product that is less drying or more drying. So we tend to be a little bit more individualized for treatment approaches like that. Same with rashes. So just because two people in the family have a rash doesn't mean it's the same rash. They should probably both be evaluated. For anti-aging, the 20s, daughter and mom, we can definitely share our vitamin C. That is fine. But again, things that are a little bit more like hyaluronic acid might not be right for one person and right for another. So there's a lot of genetics. The biggest one that we worry about is melanoma. So melanoma would be a genetic type of skin cancer that is relatively devastating if caught late. So that would be those changing moles. Psoriasis is genetic. As much as it's not life-ending, it's life-altering. So it can really affect your quality of life. So those are those large plaques that we get that don't necessarily itch, but cosmetically aren't necessarily the pretty spots, and we definitely have treatment options for that. Atopic dermatitis, even acne. Acne can be familial. So we'll find that if mom was on Accutane or isotretinoin, daughter might have to be on it. So those are kind of strong familial ties. Sunscreen. So I think that one is, I'm driving home hard. Wear your sunscreen. I wear my sunscreen every single day. It is tough. My fiance, I try my best with him. Some days he skips, but it is important to be on your loved ones because in the future they'll really appreciate it.